Welcome to welcome to, welcome to
I think they
It
will
looks
come
like we're
up
having,
right about now.
yeah, I was about to say, looks like we're having some technical difficulties, but we're going to go ahead and get the show started. I am Jocelyn Turner, who I'm your co-host, and just so delighted to have this conversation tonight. It's really about something that we don't talk about often, but we should. We have some folks who are going to share some things that they're doing. I call them innovative approaches to addressing behavioral health issues in youth, but also about some resources that are available for families here in Northeast Florida. Of course, I can't do this alone. My co-host is Dr. Rogers Kane. How are you doing this evening, Dr. Kane?
I'm absolutely doing great. I disagree with you about you can't do it alone. You may be able to do it better alone, but since you're stuck with me, you're gonna have to deal with me. So, but I have to. The weather looks great here in South Florida. Yeah, right. North Florida. Um,
I was going to say,
it's
where are you,
kind of
Dr.
somewhat
Kane? I'm in
dizzying. Let me
Northeast
put it that way.
Florida.
It's dizzying. What did you say, JT?
So May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Again, is something that we don't talk about enough, in my opinion. And one of our guests, Jill Hill, the mental health extraordinaire, will, of course, remind us by her beautiful green background, because green is a color that signifies that it is Mental Health Awareness Month. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to invite my colleagues from the Partnership for Child Health, which is a local nonprofit here in Northeast Florida. I'm going to let them introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about each other, but I'm going to first introduce you to, and she doesn't like being called this, but I'm going to say it for formality's sake, is Dr. Vicki Wadowich, the Executive Director of the Partnership for Child Health. How are you doing this evening, Vicki?
I'm doing well. Thank you. And thank you and Dr. Kane for having us.
You're very welcome. Also joining us is Andrea Bannister. How are you doing this evening, Andrea?
Quite well, and yourself?
Oh, just peachy. Thank you. And again, Jill Hill with that beautiful green background. How are you doing, Jill?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Wonderful. And last but not least, Corey O'Neill. Corey, you are you're not a stranger. You were on the podcast, I think, last year. How are you doing this evening?
Doing good, and I also have my green cup.
Okay, represent. And I put on a green shirt and I also have on my green ribbon. So to our audience, if you don't have anything green, a shirt, a dress, or something to wear, then get yourself a green ribbon and really, so that if nothing else, it will prompt people to ask you, what's the green ribbon for? And then you can share with them that it's Mental Health Awareness Month. And don't forget to pay attention to changes in your loved one or your circle of friends and family, if you see anything different going on with them, because unfortunately far too often there are people who are experiencing some challenges. On Thursday night, by the way, I have to give a plug, because I want to mention some facts that I learned, and that is 1 in 5 US adults experience mental illness each year. Only half of them receive treatment, and to the same 1 in 6 US youth experience a mental health condition each year, and only half of them receive treatment. But here's one, Vicki, that was startling to me. 50% of all lifetime mental illness begins by age 14 and 75% by age 24. Vicki, give a high level uh, description of what the partnership is, and then these folks will take it away from there and get more detailed about the work that we do at the partnership.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn and Dr. Kane, and I would be happy to. So those statistics are startling, and as we decrease the stigma and we work on mitigating the stigma more and more regarding mental illness, we have more and more folks seeking treatment and seeking help. And the better we get at identifying, the more youth and families that we're seeing that need help. And what the Partnership for Child Health does, we are a child serving organization that's been around for 30 years. And our mission is very simple. It's to advance the health and well-being of children, youth, and their families. Um, what we focus on is we focus on health and mental health equity. We focus on increasing access and reducing the barriers to care. We focus on social justice issues, the integration of physical and behavioral health, trauma interventions, and providing those innovative interventions that you're talking about to our communities that need them the most, especially those that are underserved and that are marginalized and do not have the insurance, or their insurance isn't accepted by those innovative treatment options. And then, one of the other things that I would say that the primary way that we do this is innovative as well, and that we convene the community. We convene the community and we convene the providers, and we look at what's already out there, and we look at where the gaps in services and programs are. And by doing so, we're able to then identify the specifics of what we need to do to bridge those gaps in services. So we don't want to recreate the wheel. We don't want to create something that's already out there working. What we do want to do is make sure that those that don't have access can get access, and those that don't have the transportation or that don't have the family supports, that they can get those. And if we have to create them, we will. If we have to just process and change procedures to get them connected with others, we will do that as well. And those statistics, when you say 1 in 5, if you think about that, in a classroom of 30 kids, that's 6 children. And we're not even talking about ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, which now ACEs can lead to mental health issues. But when you're thinking about an adverse childhood experience, then you rise up to 10 out of a classroom of 30. And it exponentially increases. The Department of Juvenile Justice actually did a study on this several years ago and looked at 64,000 children in the juvenile justice system and found out that 98.8% of them had experienced at least one adverse childhood experience. So we can look at that and say, if we don't treat some of the things that are happening to our children, then, like you said, and if they're not identified by the time they're 14, then it can progress into lifelong mental health issues. And I'm so happy to have Corey and Jill and Andrea here because they're doing some phenomenal things out in the community. And they know all the ins and outs of all the specific strategies that we've been implementing. And so, but I thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share about the partnership.
Absolutely. And until I joined, and for disclaimer, I actually worked with these folks at the partnership. And I tell you what, I had heard about the partnership until I started working there. And I'm not being cheesy because I work there. I really do admire the programs and services that they offer. But I tell you what, one of my colleagues here, I was amazed, and he's been on before. So hint, hint, he's been on before. And we can tell you when Vicki talks about those issues that young people have, and if they're not dealt with, they may manifest in other ways. Corey, tell our audience a little bit about the programs you lead and who your target population is, if you will.
Well, good evening, and thank you and Dr. Kane for having me on tonight. As Dr. Waitwood said, this is a work, a field, a career that you have to be passionate in the services that we offer and the families that we help. I work with 2 different programs. The first one is a youth anti-gang prevention and intervention program that I oversee here. We work with children and families that are documented gang members, persons of interest, or affiliated with gang or violence in the city. And the second program I oversee is children exposed to violence. And our target population is mainly those underserved communities and neighborhoods youth that may have been involved in the justice system, or youth that has a high probability of being involved in the justice system. And while doing this work, we see that there's a high number of youth that have undealt with trauma that has not been addressed. But not only does the youth deal with it, we're seeing a high number of parents that are trying to raise kids with unresolved trauma issues themselves. So it's just like a cycle that we're seeing. So we're doing a great work, but it is very, very important that's one of the areas that we target is mental health.
Thank you. Dr. Kane, I want to put you on the spot for a second. And I know you're a family practice physician and you may not have, see children, if you will, but do you hear from your colleagues, perhaps, who are pediatricians, that they recognize some behavior or recognize a lot of or sending youth for referrals for behavioral health counseling or mental health therapy? Do you ever hear that from any of your pediatrician colleagues?
It's not, well, yeah, I mean, I have a couple of them that I hear from, and, you probably know them, but I hear in my practice, I hear more from the parents of these kids. Mm-hmm. Okay. Parents and grandparents, because as everybody here knows, grandparents these days seem to be the parents. And there are so many where the actual, biological parents are missing out of the household. So the grandparents, old people like me are the ones who have to deal with this kind of stuff, trying to figure out how to navigate these waters of trying to deal with these with kids that are very challenged in terms of their behavior. I'll let you guys become the more descriptive of the panel as to what all of how to mention that, how to frame it. Let me put it that way. I'll let you guys do more of a framing it. But I hear more from the parents and the grandparents, and they're just trying to figure out how to deal with social media. It's a lot more complicated. I think I told the panel that had 5 girls and one boy, and I did not see the challenges that parents today are seeing, probably mainly because of the social media contribution to this whole behavioral sphere that we have to try to deal with. So, but it's mostly from the parents, not so much from my colleagues.
Jocelyn, if I could just say, that was one of the things that we were focusing on there for a while, was trying to train pediatricians to identify the social and emotional issues of children coming into their care, especially, children that are older, because parents do have a challenging time sometimes of identifying, and then also parents don't want to really, they don't want to think that there's something, wrong with their child. But in a pediatric practice, it makes it more acceptable for the pediatrician to be able to say, this is a challenge right here, or this is something your child's experiencing. And then when the referral is made to the psychiatrist or the therapist, we found out that 84% of children that are referred from a pediatrician are likely to follow up than if they are referred coming into any other part of the system.
Wow.
And let me say this, Ms. Turner, real quick. Just not that I was evading the question that you asked me. I just wanted to make sure. Mm-hmm. As I got older, so did my practice. And so that's why I don't see as much pediatric. There are plenty of family practitioners out there that does just what it says, family. So they see a lot of kids. And so hopefully if they're listening, they decide to chime in and contribute to the program.
Yeah, I'm glad Vicki mentioned the training that's available for medical providers, because, we have historically over the years offered that training so that they will, again, not that they're not equipped to recognize, but if they recognize, they will also be aware of the resources that are available for them in the community. Jill, I want you to talk a little bit about, you've done a lot of mental health first aid training. Tell our audience a little bit about that, just in case somebody, by some slight miracle, have never heard of mental health first aid, and who that training is available for in general.
So mental health first aid training, there's it's for adults that work with adults, and it's also adults that work with youth. And there is now a teen one for teens themselves. So it is a training that is basic information about signs and symptoms of mental health disorders and how to approach someone to help them or support them until they do receive appropriate treatment or until they get to an appropriate professional. And so it is just a really good training that kind of lays it out a little bit and helps you to understand, if somebody is acting a certain way, that may be because of a mental health issue. And so how do you approach them? And then how do you de-escalate a situation if someone is maybe having a really bad day and not able to control, their emotions or behaviors or whatever's going on. And so, it's just a general overview. It's good for any person out there. It is not designed for, like Dr. Kane is not designed for that. It's designed for, just the average person. So it gives some really good information. We also talk about suicide as well, and how to notice those signs and what to do if there's an overdose, because substance abuse is part of it. And, all that kind of stuff is really good for just the average person. Now, we do have people that come in that are therapists and that kind of thing, and they just want to learn like a refresher course kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so, but it's really designed for just the average Joe off the street. And we have had thousands of people go through the training. So
How do people sign up, Jill? I know you don't train everybody in Jacksonville. Is there a general link that people can go to? I know some of the hospitals or other local folks were doing the training.
well, we currently don't have a grant. So we have the materials and we would love to train anyone out there. We would have to do it at a cost. However, it is worth the cost. It is so worth the cost because it has really helped so many people. I can tell you that I was asked to come to the Impact Summit to talk about the training and the grant. And we had gotten over 1,500 people had referred adults and children for services through the 3 years of the grant. And so that's 1,500 people that got help just from that one grant. And so it is so worth it that I think, everybody should have it. Every person should have it.
I would just like to say you can Google Talkable Communities. And Talkable Communities is a group that has originated that does have a large grant. It's a combination of 5 mental health organizations from Clay, St. John's, Nassau, and Duval. And Talkable Communities, you can sign up and register right on their website for free mental health first aid training.
Yes.
Thank you. And so when we talk about, the adverse childhood experiences and those youth who are dealing with something, Andrea, you've been doing some real innovative things in the community with some local churches and other places for youth. Talk a little bit about some of the work you've been doing, and if you need some volunteers, give a shout out because we can always use some help. We're a small agency, so if anyone has an interest in the work that we're doing, of course, we'd love for their involvement. Take it away, Andrea.
Thank you, Ms. Jocelyn. Our program is called Building a Resilient Jacksonville System of Care, and our focus is on Health Zone 1, zip codes 32202, 04, 06, 08, 09, and 54. Presently, we are collaborating with churches in 09 and 02.
My name is Marianne Lewis, and my address is on file.
Mount Olive Primitive Baptist Church, and St. Joseph Missionary Baptist Church. We have youth empowerment nights on Friday nights at those churches from 5 to 7. Corey oversees the program at Mount Olive, and Andrew George oversees the program at St. Joseph. Within that program, we have financial literacy. We have Play, Preventing Long-Term Anger and Aggression in Youth. It's a program that focuses on helping youth to de-escalate and learn conflict resolution. We have 30 to 45 minutes of playtime and 30 to 45 minutes of discussion. At Mount Olive, we play basketball and we do video gaming. At St. Joseph, we do basketball, video gaming, and mixed martial arts. We have family nights at St. Joseph Missionary Baptist Church, one night a month, and all of the families welcomed at that time. We have a sit-down dinner, and we just spend time. We allow the families to come together and spend time together. At Mount Olive, we have a monthly speaker series, and with that speaker series, speakers come in and talk about different aspects of what might be needed with the families, everything from financial literacy to housing to anything a family might need. Speakers come in and provide that information. Pastor Lee Harris is the pastor at Mount Olive. Pastor Gregory is the pastor at St. Joseph Missionary Baptist Church. They are very passionate about the community and very passionate about bringing these programs into the community. We can always use volunteers at the Youth Empowerment Night and at the Family Night and at the Speaker Series.
Yeah, and we have a question, and then I'll get back to my comment. But what it says, what support do you have for African American males, and how is the attendance at these programs?
Presently at Mount Olive, we have an average of 25 youth. Presently at St. Joseph, we have an average of 40 youth, and then on family nights, we have an average of 60 youth and families. At Mount Olive, Corey, if you would jump in on the amount we have for the speaker series at Mount Olive.
It's averaging around 50 to 60 individuals in the community.
Thank you.
When I hear that, when I hear that, it shows me that these are communities that there perhaps was a need. There was not a whole lot going on around there, and that's what people, often, don't think about, that. Well, there's just automatically some place for youth and families that's safe for youth and families to go. However, you all have created a space for youth to come and have a good time, but also a learning experience and be in a safe environment. So I think that's pretty awesome. And Corey, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about Play, if you will, to let our audience know about that.
Yes. As Andrea stated earlier, Play is that preventing long-term anger and aggression in youth. It was started by Dr. Howard Stevenson at the University of Pennsylvania. Now, what Play does, it is kind of like a group therapy kind of discussion that we have with young boys of color. And we have about 30 to 45 minutes of play. That's physical activity. Basketball, football, we incorporated gaming. They do mixed martial arts. And we kind of get the kids kind of riled up, get their emotions flowing. And then we have 45 minutes of discussion, group discussion with these young Black males and young Black men of color. During this conversation, we will cover 4 areas. Might not be in the one session, but over the place of the cohort. Number 1 is storytelling. We're going to encourage our youth to tell their story. How do we do it? By sharing our story of how we were treated, share our story, our racial story, share how we felt when we were profiled. We have journaling, helping these young boys of color be able to write their story, express how they feel on the paper. We have what we call debating, which is my favorite, and I use this in our training. So we would take the boys and we would put them on the opposite side of what they believe. It's easy to defend what you believe, but it's always important to see things from another person's point of view. And debating, storytelling, journaling, and I got the fourth one. It went blank on me, but it's 4 that we do. And the biggest thing is called CBCLE. We teach the youth how to calculate how you feel on a scale of 1 to 10. How do you feel? Then we teach them how to locate where they feel it at. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm a 10. Well, when you a 10, where do you feel it? What's going on? Well, when I'm a 10, some kid may say, my hands start to sweat. That means I'm mad, I'm upset. Okay, so now you located how angry, you identified how angry you are. You've located where you see it at. Okay, so now we want you to breathe and exhale. When you get to these points, this is the trigger for you to stop, to breathe, and to exhale, because we don't want the situation to escalate. So we're teaching them alternatives when it comes to conflict resolution. So all these things is important, and we do it throughout the cohort. And we're excited to have this program here in Duval County.
And somebody asked, while Dr. Kane is unmuting himself, somebody asked, Corey, how are the program, and Andrea, how do we advertise the programs? How do people find out about them?
Well, one of the ways we advertise is through our Facebook. So it's on the Partnership for Child Health Facebook, our social media. It's on our website. We advertise when we have events. So at events, we always give out flyers to share what we're doing, but we also go door to door. So we go into the community and we share with the community what's available.
So I'm now unmuted. Couple of questions. First one would be, what is there anything, and when I listen to you guys, we have we've done shows on homelessness in the past, but sometimes we miss the ball. We may have missed the ball in terms of homelessness and families. So is there anything in particular in this program that can be directed toward those homeless families, and what can, and helping out with, I mean, if I was homeless, obviously I'd probably be angry at the world because, I really don't have a place to sleep, blah, 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 blah. What can you guys enlighten me on as it relates to this program and homelessness of families, youth?
I would say that patience is going to be the biggest thing when you're dealing with families and homelessness. Antoinette Martin, who's a wraparound case manager for our Inspire program. I've seen her take families. They didn't get a home overnight, but she worked with them. Case in point, I'm just throwing this out there. She had a family. When she met with this family, they were living with a sister, a mom, 2 teenagers. Neither of them were in school. They got put out of there, and her and her 2 teenage kids, and they're kind of healthy. And it was just a bad spot for them. And I've seen Antoinette work with this family over the last 9 months, and they're now in a place. She had to convince mom to go to a shelter with the daughter, and for about a week or 2. And we got the son to live with a relative who's still on the ankle monitor because he's involved with the justice system.
The son, you mean? The son, you saying?
Yeah, the son.
Oh.
And he's 17 now, should be turning 18 soon. So he's involved with the justice system. And I've seen Antoinette work with this family. And Dr. Kane, unfortunately, we have a housing crisis. It's not that easy to place families, but when you get them to a case manager that they can trust, that's going to stick with the plan. I'm so excited for this family. The daughter's in school, the son is working, they're in their own apartment. Antoinette got an organization to furnish the entire apartment with the help of Dr. Wadewich and the partnership. We were able to get the furniture, to pay for the moving company to get the furniture there. And Antoinette shared something with me today. I just gave her a huge high five before I sent her home because the AC isn't working. This family, whenever they needed something, they were so dependent on someone doing something for them. Hey, I need an Uber ride to go to my doctor's appointment. I need this to go here. And today, mom texted Antoinette, and mom asked her, hey, do you think we can get 3 bus passes? Because Mom has a job interview, has not worked in years. Usually it would be, I need somebody to come take me, but she's now taking the bus. And so just working with these families to see them through the process is going to be key. But I think it's important that, and Antoinette does a great job in letting the families know this is not something that's going to be fixed overnight. We have to put a plan together, and you got to be willing to be uncomfortable before you get to being comfortable. And so, but that is a success story that if they stick to it, the plan works.
Now, it may, Ms. Turner, you may take it up on the other side of the Black History Moment, but at least the only other question I really at this time want to ask is the corroboration with other at-risk youth in particular, that other programs that have at-risk youth, and how do you guys integrate with them? But we can, I leave it up to you, Ms. Turner, in terms of when to start this, before or after the.
Unless someone wanted to go ahead and answer that question now.
I mean, I can jump on that. I did want to also say something about the homeless, and that we're not a direct homeless organization. However, all of the programming that we do looks at the needs of the youth and the families, and homelessness or at risk of being homeless is something that occurs within that. And we have various programs where that gets identified. And then we connect folks with the right people. We connect the families with the right resources to follow them up. Sometimes it's open table. Sometimes it's resilience navigation. But we do, we'll make sure that we just don't leave that on the table, because that you can't work with a child and family's mental health if they're worried about where they're going to live. And as for collaboration, all of the grants that we do when we seek funding is always looking at the community and the systems, because we work with, it would be easy to develop your own program and your own fiefdom, but that's not sustainable. And one program does not fix or support a family fully. Usually a lot of the families that we work with need multiple services from multiple different agencies. And those that are dedicated to working with homeless, or those that are dedicated to working with employment, or those that are dedicated to education, we need all of those providers to be able to come in and help. So when we write our grants, we're looking at who provides all these different services. Where's their expertise? Because one agency is not an expert in everything. And when you try to be that person, then the families aren't served to the extent that they could be. And so we like to say we share the wealth. We need all of those that have all these different levels of expertise at the table. And after school programs, they serve a very vital role in our community. And that's not our first area of expertise. So we need them at the table when we're working, because children need a place to go. Head Start, those littles need a place to go. We need them at the table. So we need all of our partners at the table, but more than that, we need the community at the table, because we can't come in and tell the community what they need, because the community is going to know what's best for that community.
Thank you, Vicki. And one of the things that we talked about in the past, and we can pick it back up, is, are the social determinants of health, the conditions in which people live, work, and play. And when we talk about building a comprehensive system of care to address the social determinants of health, it of course involves collaboration between healthcare providers, social service agencies, community organizations, and policymakers. We're going to pause for a moment to give a little history maker moment. Each week we share a notable history maker, and we allow our guests to get a drink of water. Don't go anywhere though. And we will come back in a moment. So Tyrone, if you would, cue the history maker.
Reach for the drink at the bottom of your table, your desk.
What'd you say?
I say, reach for a drink at your desk, at the bottom of your desk, since she told them not to go anywhere but get a drink.
Yeah, I have mine right here. And our technology guy is traveling, so he already alerted me that he may have a little a little delay, so bear with us.
But and feel free to cut me short, Tyrone. Put it in anytime you get ready. I am happy that you guys are doing this because I was, as you said, there's no one program that fits all sides. And like I tell my patients, I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none. So you guys are doing quite a bit to outreach without trying to cover everything because you can't. You don't have the funds, don't have the facilities, but at least reaching out to the level that you guys are doing will be very instrumental in helping a lot of the people in those zip codes and those health zones, especially Health Zone 1, which I'm proud to say I'm a member of. I'm just happy that we have services like what you guys provide to help us navigate those waters.
One program that I want Jill to talk about as Tyrone is working through his technology issues is the PEEPS program. And Jill, the reason I want you to mention is because some of our listeners are physicians. And so it's an opportunity for them to learn about a resource that perhaps some of their clients can benefit from. So will you unmute and talk a little bit about PEEPS and what prompted you to want to get involved in it? I know you always share your personal story, if you don't mind. No pressure.
No pressure whatsoever, right? No. So I'm guessing you want me to start now?
Yes.
PEEPS is something that I have always wanted to have at Partnership for Child Health, and I have relentlessly begged Dr. Wadowich about this every year. Because I come from the Parent Training and Information Center for the state. I worked there for 6 years, and that is funded through the federal grant of IDEA, which is the federal law for special education. And so my heart is in special education, helping children with disabilities, with mental health issues, with anything that's going on physically, mentally, educationally, functionally, anything, to get services that they need or should have in the school system. And so I have been a special ed teacher. I have been an advocate. I have worked for the state, as that person. That I had 30 counties that I went around. So, I did it because of my son, who was diagnosed with autism, and he's actually turning 28 Thursday. So, and I was
28. You don't look like you 28.
Thank you. So he was. I was told that he would never do anything. He would never be able to live on his own. He would never read. He would never talk. He would never, be potty trained, that kind of stuff. And those were the things I was told when he was 2.5 and being diagnosed. And believe me, I went to like many, many different experts across the state. So as a parent, I was in denial. And when I finally got out of denial, I said, we're going to do what we can and everything we can. And so I read everything I could get my hands on. And so I started getting services for my child. And every other parent was asking, how are you getting that? And I said, there's this wonderful thing called IDEA, Individuals with Disability Education Act. And it's a federal law that the schools must follow for kids that have disabilities. Or, there's criteria they have to meet, and there's things that they have to do. And so, and there's consequences for them not following through as well. So, I started helping other families, and that led to me going to the Parent Training and Information Center. But, I think Vicki was, Dr. Wadowich, kind of realized, after I started helping a lot of our families with Federation of Families and some other families, because I was the family advocate at first at Partnership for Child Health, and they were getting services. not only does this make the child feel better about I can accomplish things, the family feels better because I can go into this meeting and tell this school that this is what my child needs. I feel confident enough to be able to tell them that. When I work with families, and I have 4 ladies that are trained to work with me as well, and PEEPS stands for Parent Educational Engagement Partners. We're not advocates. We're there to support the family and educate them on their rights, and to attend meetings with them to support them so that they learn the process while we help them and support them. And so hopefully when we're through, that they've learned how to do it for themselves, and they feel really good about the fact that I can now do this. I can now go into a school and not feel scared that there's 20 people around that table. I can go in and say, this is what my child needs. I know this is what my child needs. I'm the parent. I know more than you do. He's my child or she is my child. And so it is just knowing and understanding the lingo. It's the acronyms, the whole world of special education. And I think that helping families is really vital. Not only is there an increase in parent involvement in schools because of that, but there's also, families are working more together. You have kids succeeding more. My son graduated from high school, lives on his own, has his own place, so from being told he would never do anything to now living on his own and he draws and tries to sell his drawings. But he's doing everything an almost neurotypical person would do. So, but it is just, you have more of an opportunity to do things when you have more of an opportunity at school.
Well, all praise to educators and understanding what's available for education. All praise to that.
Yeah.
Because that's what helped got your son. But people who are aware of those available.
Today, the world spins on the axis of May 14th, 2024. As the sun rises and sets, history continues to unfold, and we continue to learn, grow, and evolve. Thank you, dear listeners, for choosing to spend these precious minutes with us as we delve into our 138th short history lesson. Our journey today takes us into the realm of behavioral health in youth, a field of study that has seen remarkable advancements and transformations over the centuries. It's a journey that begins in the shadows of misunderstanding and stigma, but progresses towards the light of empathy, knowledge, and comprehensive care. In the early days, behavioral health issues in young people were often misunderstood, misdiagnosed, or ignored. But as the centuries rolled on, pioneers emerged, challenging the status quo and ushering in new ways of understanding and addressing these issues. One such trailblazer is Dr. Alvin Toussaint, an African-American psychiatrist and professor at Harvard Medical School. Dr. Toussaint dedicated his life to understanding, diagnosing, and treating behavioral health issues in children and adolescents. His groundbreaking research in the 1960s and 70s laid the foundation for the modern understanding of youth behavioral health. Dr. Toussaint's work has been instrumental in shaping the field as we know it today, but he is just one of many dedicated professionals who have contributed to this field. His work, along with countless others, has helped shape a more empathetic, knowledgeable, and effective approach to youth behavioral health. Yet, even as we celebrate these achievements, we recognize that the journey is far from over. In a world that is ever-changing, the field of youth behavioral health must continue to evolve, adapt, and innovate. It is a field that calls for resilience, compassion, and relentless pursuit of knowledge. And so, on this day, May 14th, 2024, we salute the pioneers of the past, acknowledge the professionals of the present, and look ahead to the innovators of the future. As we continue to learn and grow, we carry with us the lessons of history, the wisdom of experience, and the promise of progress. Thank you again for sharing these precious moments with us. Until our next journey into the annals of history, remember, every day is a page in our collective story, and every moment is a chance to learn, grow, and make a difference.
Wow, that was pretty powerful, Tyrone. And sorry, Dr. Kane and Jill, for cutting you off. I want to start the last few minutes of our conversation and talk a little bit about recast, because Andrea and I work recast. And just in case you're wondering, what is recast? It's building resiliency in communities after stress and trauma. We happen to, Vicky, I call Vicky, she doesn't know it. She wears a S on her chest, Superwoman, because she does a phenomenal job of acquiring grant funding. Of course, we never have enough, but we've been fortunate to receive grant funding from SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration, to provide recast opportunities here in Jacksonville. And as Vicki alluded earlier, we don't do this alone. Dr. Kane, when you asked the question about, the whole collaborating, we can't do it alone. So we have numerous partners working with us, really trying to help families, help communities help build resilience in communities, unfortunately, who've experienced stress and trauma. One of the unique things that I heard from one of our partners is, without giving much descriptives, because we don't like to do that, we like to maintain folks' privacy, is that, we offer trust-based relational, what's the I for intervention training and trauma training, all sorts of training, from one of our partners, Hope and Healing Jacksonville, is doing in the community. And in doing the training to not only adults, but some young people as well, Dr. Kane, it's amazing how the people who get this aha moment, even when we offer trauma-informed congregation training to faith communities, when they realize that the experiences that they had are trauma, were the results of trauma and in their families. But for some people, it was just the way life was, right? They didn't know that it had a name of being called trauma or traumatic. Andrea, you want to talk a little bit about, how BR, I'm trying to remember your acronyms for.
BRJSOC.
Yeah. How are you all building resilience? And, you talked about what you're doing at the two churches, but share some of your experience of now in your, third year of recast?
So within the Building Resilient Jacksonville System of Care, BRJSOC, we have multiple programs. Trauma Informed Congregation is one of the programs that Miss Shirley Moon, our community convener, provides for the community, where she goes into churches and she helps churches to be more trauma informed, so that they are able to help their congregation, those who are struggling with any trauma and anything that they have dealt with. And so she goes in and she teaches the pastors, the regular churchgoers. She teaches everyone and anyone, but it is focused on leadership, so that the leadership will be better informed in how to help their church. She also has the Open Table program, and Open Table was mentioned earlier, and we have two Open Table programs right now. Calvary Way just completed their first program, and St. Joseph Missionary Baptist Church is also about to complete their program. Through Open Table, families now have new jobs. One family of 8, a mother and her 7 children, were almost going to be homeless, and Open Table was able to provide the funds to bring them into a new apartment, so that they would not have to be out on the streets. And it is a program that takes the brothers and sisters, as they call them, of a church, and surrounds one person, one individual, a couple, or a family for 9 to 12 months, and takes them from struggling to resilience within that 9 to 12 months. We also have a speaker series that I mentioned earlier. We have one that is at Mount Olive, but we also have a roving speaker series that goes into different organizations and provides speakers for that organization, and also provides a sit down dinner for the families that attend. We've had it at Centro de la Esperanza, and that speaker series we had completely in Spanish, that was during Hispanic Heritage Month, so that we can respect the Hispanic heritage. Although I don't understand Spanish a lot personally, I was there to support and nod and smile. We've also had a speaker series for Black History Month at St. Joseph Missionary Baptist Church, where we've had everyone from a former lieutenant governor, a founder of a multi-million-dollar tech company, the senior vice president of Coke, Florida. So many speakers who have accomplished great things to come in and speak to our youth. Center for Children's Rights provides child advocacy and training for youth and adults. Pro-social behavioral health helps to provide play preventing long-term anger and aggression in youth at St. Joseph Missionary Baptist Church. Want to make sure I'm not missing anyone. Cash Kids provides financial literacy. SOS Girls, which I love, provides things that girls don't do anymore. It stands for Sisterhood of Servants, and I stepped into a class the other day where they were sewing. I thought better me than them because I don't enjoy stuff like that. But those are lost arts that our youth are able to participate in. So I'm very grateful for our partners, very grateful for our collaborators.
Don't talk bad about sewing in high school. I did a little bit, so leave it alone.
It was the first C I ever got in school, so I'm not really a fan.
I think the important part about what I enjoy or appreciate about the work that we're doing with Recast is networking with so many different parts of the community. So now, Dr. Kane, we're really focusing. Vicki mentioned earlier about training opportunities for physicians because we want to make sure that the families we come in contact with who may not have a medical home, for example, we want to make sure that they are connected to a local physician. And we also want to make sure that physicians are aware of behavioral health resources that are available for their clients to make the appropriate services. I talk to our partners in Recast. And by the way, I work in, if you're in Northeast Florida or Jacksonville, I work on the west side of Jacksonville in zip codes 5, 10, 12, 15, 21, 22, and 44. And people often ask, why do you choose certain zip codes? One thing that we do, and we did this from our public health background, is we look at where we follow the data. Statistics tell us that we need to work in specific areas of town because there are people who are experiencing challenges. And so we rally the troops, we get the funding, rally the troops, and bring them together to build, as Vicki calls this, system of care. And the system of care, the funding that we have is not long, it's not going to last forever, right? So the goal is to bring these people who are already working in the community, provide, training in trauma, knowledge about trauma, what other resources that are available, and show them how collectively, if you are accustomed to work, we want you to get accustomed to working together, referring to one another. We have a parent engagement coordinator. Our community convener is Tina Johnson. And, these folks are really, they're going out in the community, identifying families who are, again, experiencing trauma and who may not have known that they could use some therapy. There are people who've had some substance issues and may need some support, and Florida Recovery Center, our partner in that, they can offer that to them. So we have different partners who come to the table. But I would like to challenge and invite our medical partners, get involved, learn how you can help. My number at work is 904-648-6095. Give me a call and I can connect you to one of my colleagues here to learn about anything that we talked about today.
Ms. Turner, before you skip to something else, I just want to be a reminder for my colleagues. You guys talked about trauma. So post-traumatic stress disorder, the PTSD, we always, originally coupled that with the Vietnam War and blah, 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 blah. But of course, that can also be assigned to what these kids and youth are experiencing these days. Mm-hmm. Just remember the PTSD and the phenomena behind it. These guys have gotten great training in it. I'm old enough that it was fresh back when I was first entertaining that phenomenon. But I just want my physician to remember, my colleagues to remember, PTSD is very strong in today's time with the different things that people are going through, whether it's homelessness, whether it's being abused on social media, whatever it may be, and that these young folks need some guidance in. And there's nothing much better other than the parents and maybe teachers, but other physician colleagues that can help these people wade through those waters of the stresses and things associated with the trauma that they have experienced.
And Dr. Kate, if I could, sometimes, especially for pediatricians, the first thing they may see is a parent complaining about behavior, and behavior is just trauma that manifests itself physically. And
Yep.
so I would say that any physician that wants to be trained in how to do some quick identification, you won't be diagnosing, but you can provide some referrals, and we can help with care coordinating those referrals into an assessment that will help identify whether this child has something more concerning that needs to be addressed. Because PTSD does not just go away, it does need treatment. It can be, people with trauma can be healed, but they
Right.
have to be treated. And
Right.
before they can be treated, they have to be identified. And so a lot of times we think that child is just bad, when really that child's behavior is just manifested trauma.
Acting out, as we used to say back in the old days, and having that kind of help to the parent and even the physician, because sometimes we get caught up in trying to figure out what to do, what advice to give the families. And granted, I told you earlier, I'm really one of those old guys who take care of a lot of old people, but still, they have. They have. I got distracted for a second with one of the questions. Do we get referrals from the courts?
We get,
Corey?
oh,
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I mean, we get referrals for various things. We do have a diversion program that we work with. And then, of course, Corey's program works with youth who may have already had
Contact.
contact with justice system, but they are having contact with the police system at that point. But we do get a lot of referrals for early intervention kids, and we can
Through our
certainly,
diversion, through the diversion program.
yes. So parents that have questions about their children, about by all means, they can give us a call, talk to their pediatrician. We're here to help.
So it's the end of the hour. We talked about a lot. Hopefully, if you have not heard the Partnership for Child Health, you learned a lot about what we do. We're a small organization, but doing some great things. I haven't been to the partnership that long. And for those of you who knew me from my previous experience, yeah, I know I said I was going to retire, but that doesn't happen when we know there are communities that still need services, and anything that I can do to lend my expertise, if you will, I want to continue to try to do that. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, it is Mental Health Awareness Month. Before I let the rest of our guests give us their final thoughts for the evening, I'd like for Andrea to mention, do you have any specific activities happening for mental health awareness, Andrea, that the general public can attend?
Yes, so I'll start with, actually last Saturday we had a women and girls self-care day that was well received. On the 17th, on May 17th, we will have an open mic night at St. Joseph Missionary Baptist Church, and we'll also have a book signing at that time, and we will also have a mixed martial arts tournament, a play, Prevention Long-Term Anger and Aggression tournament at St. Joseph Missionary Baptist Church on the 24th. So those are our final events of May.
Thank you. And I will give my shameless plug on May 16th at 6 p.m. at the Jacksonville Urban League. One of our partners, Selena Webster Bass, is going to be speaking on the impact of mental health in youth and families. That's 6 p.m. at the Jacksonville Urban League, 903 West Union Street. And on the, on the 22nd, Also at the Jacksonville Urban League, there's a youth and family engagement night from 6 to 7:30 p.m. And on the 23rd, trauma-informed training at Riviera South Apartments. And also our partner, Inspire to Rise, I'm drawing a blank. Inspire to Rise is also going to host an event in recognition of Community Health Awareness. So we'll make sure that we add all of these resources or these activities to our website. So if any of you know some families who can benefit from learning more about the resources that are available for them, as we open up these different cohorts of preventing long-term anger and aggression in youth, both on the north or the west side of Jacksonville, then of course we want to get those youth connected to that, and then some of the other resources that were mentioned today. It's at the
Also,
end.
I'm sorry, Ms.
Go
Jocelyn, if
ahead.
I might add, Step by Step Behavioral Health, another partner of ours, on May 19th, will be having their annual gala on May 19th. So
Thank you. Thank you. So you can tell we work with a lot of different people. It's the end of the hour. We like to give our guests an opportunity to share their final thoughts regarding tonight's topic. Anything that you wanted to say and didn't get a chance to mention. I will start with Vicki.
No, I think this was a great topic. It was very appropriate, and I appreciate you both bringing it to light and spending some time dedicated to it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Corey?
No, but thank you for the opportunity to have me on to speak about the great work that we're doing. And as always, on any platform that I get on, I gotta say, shout out to the greatest institution of higher education, Florida A&M University. Go Rattlers!
Corey, if you would, real quick, are there any particular signs that parent can pick up if their child might be involved in a gang?
Most definitely, behaviors in school, always coming home late, and most importantly, every parent just flat out, if your kid has a social media account, check it. Every kid that we've come in contact with has a social media account, and they're holding firearms. They're in rap videos, especially when they want to be a rapper. That's a dead giveaway.
Thank you. Thank you. Jill?
Thank you again for letting me be here tonight. If any parents out there feel as though they need support at any school meetings, especially for those IEP meetings, because that's what we're here for, it is a free service to families in Duval County. Please, get a hold of us. We also provide trainings for families. I work with a lot of families, helping support them and get them services. But not only that, but just talk to them, because I am a parent with lots of lived experience. I have a son with autism and a daughter with mental health issues. So, I myself, was diagnosed with mental health issues when I was young. So, I have that lived experience where I can sit and actually talk to the family and know what exactly they are, not exactly what they're feeling, but kind of, I've got the same thing that's going on. So I can relate to them. And so it really does help a lot of times. So I do appreciate you guys letting me come tonight, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Jill. And last but not least, Andrea, is there anything else you'd like to add?
thank you for having us.
Thank you. Dr. Kane, what are your final thoughts regarding tonight's topic? And you're muted.
My final thoughts are, this is a great program. I know we're limited, they're very limited in funds, but as many of our listeners that can take advantage of that, it will be to their advantage to do so, especially those who qualify. That's what Jill is saying, what is the IEP type programs. I got grandkids that qualified for that. They were very, very helpful in trying to get them that additional help by which they could succeed in school. I will give them, all kudos to them and their mom, but they're getting like straight A's in school and like 3-4 grades in advance of what other students their same age are doing, and simply because they're different, but these grants and the pathways through that IEP programs allowed them to excel, where before they were, much like what Jill mentioned to us, they were being viewed as they're not going to make it in life. And it's just because of they're on the spectrum, or, whether it's autism, all the way to the autism ending type thing versus just on the spectrum. That's something for another discussion. It was very, very helpful to the parents for this, and I'm so happy that they found someone who could help walk them through it. And so I'm very happy also that we found someone to help our clients walk through it. Thank you, Jill, and you will be hearing from us.
Thank you, Dr. Kane. As we talked about tonight, mental health affects or impacts youth and families all the time. I shared the statistics. Mental health greatly impacts youth and families, affecting relationships, academic performance, and overall well-being. It's crucial to prioritize support, understanding, and access to resources to address mental health challenges effectively. And of course, if you or anyone you know is experiencing a mental health crisis, call 988 to speak to a trained counselor 24 hours a day. Again, 988 if you or anyone you know is experiencing a mental health crisis. This is a national crisis prevention hotline. So suicide prevention hotline for anyone who, unfortunately, there are a lot of people who've thought about committing suicide. Someone just sometimes needs someone to talk to. We hope that you learned a lot from our guests with the Partnership for Child Health. If you're interested in learning more about the partnership, you can go to visit www.pchjax.org or the Facebook page, Partnership for Child Health. And of course, make sure that you subscribe to Pause for the Truth YouTube channel so that you can hear more about or revisit this particular episode and future episodes. Tune in next week to Pause for the Truth. And thanks again to our guests. Good evening.
Good night.
And there we have it, another episode of the Pause for the Truth podcast in the proverbial books. Our heartfelt thanks go out to every one of you who took the time to tune in. Mark your calendars, we're here every Tuesday at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. Feel free to join our community on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. But the golden ticket? Subscribing to our YouTube channel. That's your passport to all our latest episodes and exclusive content. A special mention to the wizard behind the curtain, Tyrone Jackson from Call Tyrone IT Services. His technical prowess and unwavering dedication are the backbone of this podcast. Next week, we'll be back with more. Until then, tell your friends, tell your family about our show. Your support is invaluable. And remember, keep that curiosity alive. Keep seeking the truth.
Okay, guys, very good. Considering the challenges we had from a technological standpoint, I think everything went pretty well. And I really thank you guys for coming on to the show. An hour is never enough. Just FYI, it's never enough. We went through so fast because we got a whole lot of things that we could have talked about. I'm sure you guys have a whole lot of things you could have talked about. I had some other things I could have gotten to, but I didn't want to hog the program, especially when it came down to Corey sharing with me how I can grow that same kind of hair that he has on his beard on my top.
I don't have the answer, as you can see.
Oh, you stole from it.
Exactly.
All right.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Y'all have a great evening. See you tomorrow.
All right. Bye.
Dr. Kane, hang on for a second, please.
I got you. Tyrone, pull up.
So next week is Antonio. I sent you an email asking you to find out who the guests are.
Okay, I'll
What
go
the
ahead.
topic would be.
I'll go ahead and take care of that tomorrow. I thought he sent me something before, but I'll double check and send it to him. I got looked like somebody from the health department tried to call me today, I don't know why they didn't text, but okay, whatever. But look like they tried to call me and
That probably was a communications person.
yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and touch base with Antonio myself, and then we'll go from there.
All right. Well, what did you think of the show?
I was good with it. Dr. Jones said that it was an interesting topic, so he was happy with it. Of course, we could have, with the number of people there. I mean, there was so much more that based on the number of people that we had on the show, I know we left uncovered.
Yeah, and we, I probably shouldn't have had all of them, but I know sometimes some people are more talkative than others.
Right.
And so it allowed for the people who are not as talkative. Andrea is not as talkative, for example. Jill can go on and forever.
Yeah, she did a good job on that one with that IEP program, but it was
Oh, yeah, she's very passionate about it.
Yeah, but it was a proud mom, and I recognized that. And I meant what I said because my grandkids, I got 3 of them that are on the spectrum that I recognize.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, 3 of them on the spectrum, and at least 2 of them have truly excelled, much like what I said, truly excelled to the point that, they got college entrance early. My granddaughter college entrance early, in the 10th grade. My grandson, he's still like 3-4 grades ahead of where he should be in terms of his age. So they have really, that was a great program for them, and that was unaffordable with their parents' income. Maybe the grandparent could have afforded it, but why? When I pay all these taxes, and they should be able to help our kids and take advantage of it.
Hey, Tyrone, you're on mute. What do you think of the show?
He's got a real slow. He might hear you in about 3 minutes.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Well, we'll talk to him when he gets back then. Safe travels, Tyrone. All right, we'll talk when you get back. Take care.